Thank you, Ken Corla, and thank you, Deputy Fitzmaurice. Now, first of all, can I thank Deputy Kenny for bringing this bill to the House and say that I support it. It's an important bill. Now, I listened to you, Minister, and it was difficult to know exactly what you meant. At one level, you seemed to agree with the principle of what Deputy Kenny was proposing, but at another level, it's too complicated. It's a parallel system, etc. And you spoke of a system that was working. You spoke of forestry policy. But, Minister, we don't have forestry policy. We have state aid. We have grant aid. We have tax incentives. What we do is we follow the money, not the policy, because we don't have a policy. We're told we need to plant more trees, as if that in itself would solve the problem, without thinking at all of the kind of settlement patterns that we have in this country, and imagining it's like Scotland or France or vast areas in certain countries where nobody lives. We need a proper forestry policy that takes into consideration where people live. Now, you spoke of 15% broadleaf. Actually, the European Commission, when it approved the state aid requirement so that people could be paid grant aid to plant forestry, requested that it would be 30%. And up to a year ago, the Irish government was telling the Commission that it would be 30%. I'm fascinated to hear it's 15%. And I raised the issue with some very senior EU officials. And a phrase that I've used many times and needs to be said again, when I was talking to him about the Sitka planning in Leitrim, he used the phrase that Leitrim is a national sacrifice zone for Sitka spruce. Those were his words, not mine, and they're as powerful as you can get. So, Minister, why do we need planning permission for forestry? Well, one of the reasons is that in 2019, 2 one-off houses were granted planning permission in County Leitrim. And I don't know how many hectares of forestry. I'm sure Deputy Kenny would know. But there were hundreds, if not thousands, of hectares planted the same year. Now, staying with the EU, you mentioned the Environmental Impact Assessment Directive. One of the things we don't do here is we don't look at the cumulative effects. And as you know, the Commission want to take Ireland to court for that. Once again, an indication that we have no policy. And Minister, I'm fascinated to hear a Green Minister say that the Aarhus Convention is working. I spent 15 years in Brussels, and all I ever heard from citizens was that there was no proper access to justice, and that's part of Aarhus. But anyway, what has happened, Minister, is because we have no forestry policy, that has created 2 groups. Those who are totally opposed to planting and those who fully support. And they can't find any middle ground. And there needs to be, because we need to plant trees for many different reasons. We need to keep our sawmills moving, and plants like masonite in Leitrim need timber. But equally, we need to involve farmers, we need to promote agroforestry, especially under Pillar 2, and I believe that is what you are going to do. So when we talk about planting more trees, we need to take into consideration where they're being planted and the impact that they have on the landscape and the people that live there. The reason there's such a visceral hatred of trees in parts of Leitrim is because people's homes are being surrounded by Sitka spruce. They're marching across the landscape, and people feel as if there is nothing they can do. So, Minister, you have a huge job ahead of you, and I think planning permission for forestry will form a very important part of that. A proper forestry policy that takes into consideration where people live, who will be involved, that farmers will be involved in forestry, that the incentives will go to farmers. I think they can call us being very generous with time. I know there's a bit extra there, but I can't impress on you, Minister. You have a difficult job ahead to bring these groups of people together. And I think if you can manage that, you will do a good job. But Martin Kenny's bill here today, his proposal, is a good place to start.